Imagine a world transformed by the power of giving, where every act of kindness sparks another. These are the champions who dedicate their lives to change. Together, they are paying it forward. Champions of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement. Here on the Achievement Channel.
Welcome to Champions of Change, the program dedicated to showcasing and celebrating individuals who are making a profound and positive impact in our society. I'm your host, Pamela Igbo, and you are watching the Achievement Channel, Nigeria's first and only 100% motivational TV station, broadcasting from the School of Eloquence here in Ikoyi, Lagos. Today, we have a truly remarkable champion with us, a woman who is redefining the landscape of education and empowerment for young people. Mrs. Danielle Joshua. She's an education consultant and visionary, passionately advocating for equity in education through her three impactful organizations: Transcend Movement, Transcend Education, and the Danielle Bridge Education Consultancy. Her work has achieved a 100% success rate in helping students secure top university offers, while also empowering hundreds of teachers and students across the UK and Nigeria with vital skills. With a deep commitment to purpose and faith, Danielle is on a mission to redefine what's possible for the next generation. Let's get started. Danielle, welcome to Champions of Change.
Thank you for having me.
Great. It's great to have you here. So I'm really excited about our conversation. It's all around education, which I know you're passionate about, and so am I. So tell us, I know that you already, you have three organizations that you are founder of, which is amazing: Transcend Education, Transcend Movement, Bridge Education. It's a mouthful.
Because it's a mouthful.
DBEC for short. Okay. So what inspired you to start that?
Yes, really, thank you so much for having me again. So Transcend Movement, it's funny actually, all of them started at moments of, we need to do something about this.
Right.
So Transcend Movement was the first, and that started when I was in university. And I noticed that I'm a Christian, and there was a lot of young people like myself who had been raised in the Christian household, but were kind of what we would call lukewarm, living as we please, basically, and not really living to the commands of God. And so I realized this, and I realized that I wanted to do something about that. I wanted to help people to really think about their faith and think about their journey and really think about what kind of life they believe that God wants for them. And so I started writing a play, and I realized that we are media. If you want to get a message out, media is the best way. And so I wrote a play and kind of gathered a lot of young people to come and watch, and I was able to get my message across. And so that's how Transcend Movement started. Transcend Education started because I was simply doing mission work in Ghana, and I saw that there was a lot of teachers teaching in kind of rural, deprived schools that weren't qualified. And so they're teaching some of the poorest children in Ghana, but they don't actually have any of the kind of experience or qualifications to really help them teach them the best. And so because of that need, and because I was asked simply, can I come and do something about it, I began. And so that's how Transcend Education started. And then DBEC started simply because people would often just say to me, I really want to get to this uni and I don't know how to write my personal statement. And I was like, this is what the unis are asking for. They want this, structure it like this, and put it together. And a lot of people would get into their unis. And I was like, this is good. I can do something about this. So,
yeah. Fantastic, amazing. Opportunity met with need, and that's what made you move forward, which is great. So tell me, why education? Obviously, you just explained a little bit, but why young people particularly? I know you shared with me before we started about your growing up in the UK and how you saw the disparity in terms of education there. So tell us a little bit about that. Why young people and why education particularly?
Yeah, thank you. So I think young people, because young people are genuinely the future. I know people say that, but they are actually the future. They are what is going to make up majority of the population in years to come. And when I was 16 years old, I began to learn about statistics that I felt there was these statistics are not good. And these statistics were things like, if you are from a black background, if you are black, African or Caribbean background, you're less likely to do well as your white counterparts. If you went to a state school, you're less likely to do well than those who went to a private school. If you're a black, African boy, you're more likely to be excluded and be kind of discriminated. So I saw all of these statistics and I was like, this is wrong. And I think it hit me because it was real. These weren't statistics that I couldn't grapple my mind with. I could grapple my mind with. I looked around at my peers and I saw those statistics happening. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think our lives should be determined because of, where we're from or, how much money we have.
Right.
And so because of that, I was like, no, something needs to be done. And I saw a few things being done. I can't say that nothing's been done. Things have been done, but there's more to do. These are lives of people, so yeah, that's fine.
Great. So obviously you work between UK and here. What area have you seen the most progress in, or what country in terms of what you're trying to achieve?
What I would probably say is, I would like to say both. It looks different. So the disparity in Nigeria is huge, from those who are from low income households to those who are from high income households. The gap is very wide. Whereas in the UK, the gap is reduced, but it's there. So there are people who do go hungry. There are people who do come to school and they haven't eaten. There are people from, families maybe where there's domestic abuse or there's physical abuse or all of these different things happening at home, and then they go into school and then we see that manifesting in different ways. So I would like to say that the impact that I've seen it in both, but it looks very different. I think in Nigeria, with the kind of schools that I've worked with, what I'm able to bring, I can see the kind of big light bulb moment with the people because they haven't been as exposed to what we're providing for them. With the UK, they've been exposed, but they haven't been inspired to do more than where they're at. And so you see the light bulb moment in okay, I can be something. Okay, I can do this. So some would probably say my impact is probably wider in Nigeria, and I can understand it definitely is a lot more in Nigeria because there's more need. But I would like to look at it as it looks different, but there is need in both.
Sure.
So yeah.
And can you just talk to us, expand a little bit more about some of your programs that you do, particularly here in Nigeria? So when you go into schools and you work with young people, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, nice. So one of the first things that we do is actually work with the teachers.
Okay.
And why is that? Because one teacher is with 60 students. So if you want to make the biggest impact, you want to go right where their instruction is being given. And so we train the teachers. We train the teachers on how to improve classroom interaction, how to assess students, how to reach every child at their need. And so, basically how to evolve into the modern 21st century teacher. So a lot of our work is training teachers. But in addition to that, we also want to expose and inspire the young people. And so the way that we do that is we develop career development workshops. There are skills that every job is looking out for.
Right.
They're not just looking out for knowledge. They're looking out for eye contact. They're looking out for good communication. They're looking out for critical thinking. Are you a problem solver? So we try to develop those skills right from beginning of secondary school. These are the skills that matter regardless of the industry you are going into, whether you're going into engineering, teaching, or accounting. You need to know how to communicate. You need to know how to sell yourself. You need to know how to provide solutions. And so these are the skills that we develop from the young people. We try to expose them also to jobs and different careers as well, because a lot of these children, their reality is what is, in their village or in their town or in their community. So we're trying to expose them that actually it's not just a doctor, lawyer, that you can become. You can actually become, go into tech, and you can go into this industry. And so we want to expose them to that. We want to bring professionals to their schools, and they, engage them that actually this is the industries you can go into. And so, yeah, that's what we do.
Beautiful. Because one of the things I'm a great believer in is critical thinking and getting children to think outside the box. I think even though education, is advancing in this part of the world, I do think that, like you said, a lot of education is about passing an exam.
Yes.
And it's so much more than that. And I see the difference with my daughter, who had an education in the UK. One of the things that she learned right from Montessori was actually how to think outside the box.
Right.
And so critical thinking has been a big part of her life. And I see the difference and how important it is to start children young. So that's fantastic that you're doing that. So in terms of the teachers, though, what do you talked about getting teachers to be 21st century teachers. Break that down for me. What does that mean?
So everything starts with the mindset. I think them understanding, number one, that as a teacher, the world is changing, right? The world is evolving. Industries are coming into the scene that were not here 20 years ago. And so because of that, you can't teach the same way that you used to teach 30 years ago.
Right.
Because of that, you need to be aware that, okay, if technology is evolving, then I need to also be aware of technology for myself to be able to pass that on. If I know that there's these skills, that these top industries in Nigeria, in South Africa, in England, and wherever, these are what these industries are looking for, I need to be able to bring that out of the students right in my classroom. So as a maths teacher, I'm not just teaching maths, I'm inspiring them to be problem solvers. And so being that modern 21st century teacher, it starts with the mindset,
right?
And it starts with the awareness of the society that you're in, and then how do we get these students ready, not just A stars, the nines, and they say in overseas, but actually how do we get them to be well-rounded children? I said this last time when I came. I feel that your qualifications will get you to the door, but what keeps you there is the character, it's the values.
Yes.
And so the 21st century teacher is thinking about that.
That's right.
So yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and continue this very important and informative conversation with Danielle.
For us here at the School of Eloquence, our primary focus is on the art of public speaking, because it's a major problem. And public speaking, we must understand, is the raw art of speaker to audience oral communication.
I got a lot more than I actually expected. I have the few years I used to have.
The more you speak, the better you are with speaking. School of Eloquence is the place you can be, and there's a turnaround. That change you are expecting, you get it there.
Thinking about who your references are, we need to identify them, and we need to make sure that they're okay with giving you that reference. Reference can be your workplace, but also can be your degree as well.
Welcome back to Champions of Change. Right before the break, we were talking to Danielle about her wonderful work that she does in education, both here in Nigeria and in the UK, helping young people transform their lives. So Danielle,
yes,
welcome back.
Thank you.
So tell me, when did you discover that this was your life's purpose?
I like that. I think it was kind of over the years. It was a journey, right? So it wasn't like a light bulb moment. Like I mentioned earlier, I think I would always find myself where there's a need, and I'd be like, oh, I can do this, I can help. And then it was kind of expanded more. I think even when I look at, for example, Transcend Movement, even though, yes, I realized that later on in life, the giftings of writing plays started right when I was in church, and, they were trying to plan for their church anniversary, and they were like, we need something entertaining. What can we have on stage, that would be really powerful and minister to the people. We were young, but also entertaining. And they were like, maybe we can do a play. And I was like, I can write a play. I've never written a play in my life. I was about 12 years old, or probably 11. And I was like, I can write a play. Yeah, because I can just create ideas. I would always spend a lot of time just imagining a life that I didn't have. So I was just like, yeah, I can do that. And that's kind of where I was able to realize that, okay, I have the capacity to write plays. I have the capacity to direct. So that when later, many years later, when the need in university came, I was able to put it together. So, I would say along the journey, I would discover need, and I would provide a solution, and I would enjoy it and realize, okay, I like doing this. So
fantastic. And so with Transcend Movement, is it something that you're still actively doing, and here in Nigeria as well?
Oh, so
tell us.
Yeah, so Transcend Movement has only been in the UK. So we've done about 7 gospel theatre style productions. We've done it in Manchester, Birmingham, major cities, in Milton Keynes as well. And it's been amazing because a lot of people give their life to Christ when they finish watching the play. And we always give that kind of room for people to decide what they want to do. In Nigeria, it's not something I've brought to Nigeria. I would love to bring to Nigeria. I think it would be great. I know that Lagos, we have theatres, which is fantastic, because I know that other parts of Nigeria, we don't actually have theatres and things like that. So yes, we've not brought it here, but definitely if the opportunity arises, 100% would love to. Yes, okay, I'm taking this as a sign that I need to plan.
Please do.
So yes, I will take it seriously,
Fantastic. Okay, so let me see. What are some of the challenges that you've had, not just here in Nigeria, but I'd like you to talk about some of the challenges here, but just generally running 3 different organizations, and how do you sort of wear different hats? What are those challenges?
I think it's something that I'm always learning. I think when you run more than one project, it's funny. I always feel like it's so much easier. People that know that they want to do this one thing. I want to be a doctor. And so it's like everything about their life revolves around being a doctor. It's so much easier, I feel. But I feel like when you are quite passionate about different things and you're gifted in different things, it's hard. It's harder. And one thing I've had to know is times and seasons. So I've had to really know when it's time to ramp up one and when it's time to relax on one another. I've had to learn about delegation a lot as well. Delegating that, okay, and this season I have to put you in charge of this project, that I have to trust that you're going to do, and I've done my best in passing down what I hope to see. And so I think the challenges are just continually knowing the times and seasons on when this needs to start up and when I need to trust what I've done can actually continue. I wouldn't say that this is a challenge for Nigeria. I think it's a challenge anywhere. It's definitely funding, raising the funds to be able to do the work that you're passionate about, to be able to push what you're passionate about. But I think one thing that has helped me is that I don't like to look at what we don't have. I like to look at what we have. Right. And so that's how Transcend Movement initially started. We were in uni. What do we have in uni? But I was connected to a church that has a stage and lights and everything. So you just start to utilize your resources. And I think if you spend more time thinking about, okay, what do I have? And then doing what you have, I do think that eventually the funds and resources that is needed will follow.
So I think, we're living in an age now where a lot of young people are exposed to, technology, which is fantastic. But I guess the downside of it as well is, you were talking earlier about life skills, teaching them life skills. And I don't know whether you agree with me, but I find that the generations, the current Gen Zs, I would say have no life skills, very little, because they're always looking at a phone. That's the downside of technology. It can actually isolate.
100%.
So how does your sort of organization deal with that when you talk to young people?
I love what you said there. I was teaching in the UK and I saw it firsthand that some of the skills that the children of nowadays, and I don't like to generalize, but many lack is resilience. There's no grit. There's no sticking at something. And it kind of, I think it was reducing a lot with the millennials. Like, I'm a millennial, so it reduced a lot with the millennials, and then it's just gone even worse with the Gen Zs, where there's no resilience. And so because there's no resilience, we have a lot of children suffering, going into depression. Oh, I can't take this. This is too much. I need to go to part-time education. I need to, all of these different things that was not a thing before. And it's because they're not taught to push. They're not taught that actually if you have endurance, that this is the result, that actually the best diamonds come from refining of the fire. We're not taught that anymore. No, we're taught, listen, your peace of mind is all that matters. Exactly. Relax, do what makes you happy. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I love that also sometimes, because sometimes you need to put yourself first, because no one else is going to. But then if you don't have the right balance, I mean, it's actually, you're setting yourself up for a disaster. And so a lot of what we do is that character development, is those soft skills, is things like that critical thinking, decision making, setting goals, looking at people who have gone ahead, who have done great things, but not just looking at the result, looking at the process. I think we need to spend more time sharing the process, because sometimes I do think people genuinely think people sleep and wake up and then
become this person.
I'm a millionaire. Sleep, wake up, and I'm a right.
And I think the advent of a lot of social media, Instagram and TikTok, you look at people's lives and you think, oh, they've got a wonderful life, and that's what I think we need to change, that narrative. Yes, and that grit that you're talking about is really important. Can you think of a great story you could just share about somebody's life, particularly in Nigeria, that has been transformed through the work that you do?
Okay, so I mean, Transcend Education is only starting in 2021. But what I will say, I remember in Ghana particularly, there was a young boy who would actually trek about 3 hours to the location of where the school was. So the family, they were really struggling. And so a lot of the work that we would do with character development with the teachers to also pass down to the students. And so a lot of the time we would focus on how can we support these children in addition to the education and things like that. And so we put money together, helped him to get a bike so that he can get to school quicker. And now, this is like 4 or 5 years ago. Now, because back then his attendance was really bad because he wasn't able to get to school. And this was the best school in the village, right? When we got him the bike, we did the training with the teachers. Just speaking to one of the teachers, they've said he's now in university. He's now studying engineering. And it's also been the fact that the teacher was able to champion with the student. A lot of the time in Africa, in places in general, a lot of teachers, they'll be like, this one, he's not going anywhere. Right. Wahala, he's stressed, he's behaved. And some of the things that we try to train the teachers is looking at how we can inspire the children. And that teacher actually said, thank you for showing me that I can actually inspire this child to be more motivated. And so that's hopefully some of the fruits of what we've been able to contribute. So we're pleased that he's doing what he wants to do.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. So finally, I want you to look into the camera and talk to our viewers, particularly young children. We just touched on it a little bit about finding purpose and why it's really important to have grit. Because like you said, your purpose, sort of became clearer over time. And I think in this day and age, we have a lot of young people have this microwave mentality that you just, wake up and then it's all there. Particularly in Nigeria, where I think a lot of young people are quite talented. Yeah. But sometimes they don't have the opportunities and they don't have good role models around them. And what they see is people, driving around in G-Wagons, having a lot of money, and they aspire to have that money, but not going through the process and not even know where the money came from. You understand? So why is education important in becoming successful in life? And not just successful in terms of monetarily, but like you talked about character and all these things. So I'd like you to just talk to the young people, the viewers, and inspire them about what they should really need to be thinking about to becoming that person that they need to be to make and impact in society.
Nice. Yes. Okay. So what I would firstly say to all of you is that legacy. Think about the word legacy and what you want to leave behind. I know you want the nice cars. I know you want the nice houses. Me too. Let's enjoy together. But the reality is that you can have the nice cars, the nice houses, but if you don't have the right character to even sustain what you want, you're going to lose everything, God forbid. And then what do you have, right? Where is your identity? Is your identity in what you have or who you are? And so I want you to start thinking about the fact of what difference can I make? Because if you start to think about the difference that you can make, then the money will follow, the people will follow, and lives, not only your life will change, but the people around you, their lives also will change. So think about making a difference that will sustain you, your family, your friends, and people across the globe. That is what real impact is going to make, and that's where true wealth is. So yeah.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure having you here, and I wish you all the best with all the plethora of things that you do in Nigeria and in the UK.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Danielle, for your insights, your passion, and your dedication, which is truly inspiring. It's been an absolute privilege to have you on Champions of Change today. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your incredible work with us. Remember, every small act of positive change contributes to a better society. If Danielle's story has ignited a spark in you, I encourage you to learn more about her organization and how you can support their invaluable work. Let's continue this very important conversation. Follow at Achievement Channel on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube for more inspiring content and updates. Use the hashtag #WeSeekPossibilities and share your thoughts with us. Until next time, keep championing change, keep making a difference, and keep striving for greatness. Bye for now.
My name is Mrs. Imelda Hunosuji. You can call me Madam Modesty. Please keep watching Achievement Channel.